Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this virtual live session. I am Dhruv from the People Matters team, and I'll be your host for the day. We are excited and glad to present to you this power-packed panel discussion on the topic of leveraging the talent marketplace to boost business decisions and growth. HR leaders today are more responsible for driving business growth than ever before. We have seen how the war for talent has now reignited, and companies are in a hurry to find the right talent to support growth and productivity. But often there is a challenge when it comes to mapping out the talent economy and deploying existing employees to address skill gaps. With the talent marketplace, companies find a possible solution to these challenges. It provides HR leaders with a quick and reliable way to address skills demand. It facilitates rapid deployment of talent across different functions and helps companies match employees with job portfolios that really match their skill sets. If used strategically, a talent marketplace can be impactful mentoring tool as well and allow companies to promote job sharing and gig work. While this and many other facets of talent marketplace today make it a profitable option for companies, HR leaders still remain unclear on how to leverage it to address their business needs. To deliberate this further and explore some of the nuances of the talent marketplace, People Matters and Workware are glad to bring you this webinar and explore some of the possibilities of a talent marketplace in the coming years. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists. First, we have Sunil Mishra, CEO of MTech Inc. Sunil is the CEO of MTech Inc. As a senior executive, he comes with a deep expertise in strategy marketing, sales, solution development, and service delivery. He has a consistent record of achieving aggressive growth and profitability. With MTech Inc., a global consulting firm, Sunil and his team are dedicated to helping businesses drive transformation and empower and deliver amazing client experiences. Thank you, Sunil. It's great to have you with us.
Uh, Glad to be here, Dhruv. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Now on to our second panelist, Vijay Yadav, Chief Revenue Officer at Workware. Vijay is a senior professional with more than 20 plus years of experience in leadership roles. His strengths lay in starting a new business or picking up early stage businesses and scaling them to newer heights. Vijay has been associated with different industries, his career ranging from SaaS tech, HR tech, cloud communications, and cybersecurity. At Workware, Vijay plays a vital role in helping organizations realize the importance of talent marketplace and helping them supercharge their talent mobility, upskilling, and address employee aspirations. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Vijay.
Thank you, Dhruv, and thanks for the audience. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, great to have both of our panelists with us. So before we delve into our discussion and our question answer session, we have a small poll that we would request our audience to take part in. Um, I would request them to go to www.menti.com and use the code 7091670. I repeat, the code 7091670. You can find the same link and code mentioned in your chat boxes. If you can take 5 minutes out of your time, we'll start with the poll. Just reiterating the poll question for all our audience members. The question explores your understanding of the talent marketplace. So, what has been your experience with the talent marketplace? Where we have three options. First is you've used talent marketplace in your company and have obtained great results. Option B is you've heard of a talent marketplace but still remain doubtful about how it can be useful in your company. And C is you know very little of talent marketplace and are interested in exploring what it can do for you. So we will take 2 to 3 minutes, and as we get the poll numbers, we'll continue the conversation. Those are exciting numbers. I would request our audience to participate more with the question so that we are able to gauge your interest level and we can make the discussion even more insightful. As I can see, most people come with very little knowledge of talent marketplace, but are interested in exploring how it can actually be really helpful. And I think that's a great way to go ahead.
Yeah, majority seems to be reflecting that there is still need to share what exactly a open talent marketplace is, and that gives us the opportunity during this webinar to share those details and aspects.
That's
I agree,
exactly.
Vijay. I agree. Yeah, please, Sunil, you were adding something?
No, I think it's, in any industry, there's always a new phrase which comes about. Talent marketplace, has been around for a long time, but a lot of people don't uh, quite differentiate that from regular HR systems in many ways, performance management, etc. So as we go forward, maybe Vijay can take the second.
Definitely. I would
Oh,
like to thank the audience.
I think the simplest way to address this
Yeah,
would be
Vijay,
to
please go on.
say
Please continue.
if the organization competes for its own talent, that would be the one line definition of a open talent marketplace. So the message is that first, uh, the executive team of the organization competes for the talent which is available in the organization. HR should be the enabler for it, and HR tech platform then helps the HR department, and that's what we'll be going through today.
Great, great. And I liked how the audience sort of helped us pivot the conversation because we saw the most number of people falling either between having some vague idea or not knowing a lot about talent marketplace. So I would like to thank the audience for taking time out and actually participating in that poll of us. Now, without further delay, let us start the conversation and start the question answer session with our panelists. So, before we kick off an in-depth discussion on the talent market place per se, I would like both of you to take a step back and reflecting on the challenges that companies have faced over the past 2 years of how how the entire ecosystem is sort of different from what it was before 2020. How do you see, or what is one of the most significant change that you see has occurred in companies when it comes to talent management practices and addressing talent demands? So, Sunil, we'll start with you, and Vijay will go on to you after this.
Well, thank you, Drew. And this is, I'm excited to be here. This is a topic sort of near and dear to my heart. We are, as a company, we are a people company, right? So attracting and retaining and developing the best talent is sort of core to our existence. Otherwise, the company would cease to exist if we didn't do a good job at that, right? So I think in answer to your question, it's not only the last 2 years. There's been a broad demographic shift going on over the last, I would say, 15, 20 years. And as you can see, I'm an old guy, so I remember the time when as long as you could get a job, you were happy about it, and you stuck to it as long as you could. And in fact, in many parts of the world, including in India, getting a government job where you could just be there for the next 30, 40 years was the thing, right? But with the Gen Xers and the millennials, that has changed significantly. And I think all the pandemic has done is accelerated that change, right? One of the So the trite phrases is that the new generation is looking for valuable experiences, right? Obviously, everybody is interested in, progression and promotions and making more money and, compensation, things of that nature. But getting more and more important for everybody and all the folks that we are trying to attract, that they can have a good experience, with whatever company they work in, right? And with the pandemic in the last couple of years, that has become challenging from several perspectives. You're not close to each other. You had somewhat of an unstructured lifestyle, and as far as work is concerned. So those are the kinds of things which has made more challenging for individuals, and for companies. It's become more challenging to figure out in this amorphous environment, who wants to do what, so you can develop and retain them, right? It's becoming more and more of a almost it's almost like a detective novel these days, right? You got to figure out through means, formal and informal, structured and unstructured, how to retain and develop the talents, because there's that diamond in the rough, needle in the haystack that you might ignore in today's environment, right? So I think life's just gotten more complex. We need better systems, we need better processes to adapt to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Sunil.
Yeah.
And the point of complexity is really important. Yeah, Vijay, please go on.
Yeah, in fact, I tend to agree with Sunil that the change has not only been over the last couple of years, it's really more been, one could say, over the last decade. As the technology changes, as the business environment changes, very obviously the workforce needs to change accordingly. uh, Having just one skill set, even though there are areas of expertise, even the skill set, one skill set is not enough, because with the technological change, the need for skill, that requirement is changing. So what we are looking at is essentially, is the workforce ready to fit the changing scenario, the changing technology? The workforce is having their aspirations of their own. And as Sunil said, what has actually happened over the last couple of years is that these two aspects, that the workforce getting to be more aspirational, and the organizational requirements or the skill set evolving very fast, it's only been accelerated over the last couple of years. What has also happened over the last couple of years is that employees have, while being not so engaged with their own colleagues, have engaged socially. So that has sort of accelerated the startup thinking or startup cultural thought as well.
Right.
So it becomes a challenge now for the HR industry to say, how do we address employees' aspirations? How do we quickly fill up the changing skill set requirement of the organizations, and also give a startup culture kind of feel, or what Sunil said, the more informal aspects as well to go with the formal.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Vijay.
So, hmm.
I like how both the perspectives sort of explored of how complex the situation has got, but at the same time, there is a need for immediate startup-like solutions. There is a need for engagement. There's a need to address those aspirations. So I think it starts off a very engaging conversation of how we can do that now. So my second question to you, Sunil, I mean, continuing this chain of thought, we have seen employee preferences evolve rapidly, and Vijay also sort of mentioned some of them. In your experience, what are some of the newer challenges, especially in sitting here in 2022, in the middle of 2022? What do you see are some of the newer challenges when it comes to keeping employees engaged that you feel companies should really keep an eye out?
It's a great question, Dhruv, and we've been thinking about this very seriously over the last year and a half, right? Yeah. So interestingly, when the pandemic started, none of us had any idea how long it would go, right? It was We thought, oh, quick lockdown will be done and be back to normal, right? But I think the definition of normal has changed over the last 2 years, and even though I'm not a big fan of the phrase "the new normal," it is what we are facing today, right? So, the question around the biggest challenge that I see is, how do you make the informal formal, right? In today's environment, there is a lot of sort of interaction which traditionally would have been done very informally in an office environment that cannot be done today, right? I'll give you an example. We've in our company we've hired hundreds of people over the last year, right? And onboarding and getting a simulation of those hundreds of folks, actually thousands of folks, into the fabric and the culture of the company is not easy when you're doing it all remotely, right? So that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is that there's a little bit more informality to interaction, which did not exist before, right? So an example would be social media, right? So in today's world, employees have options to interact with not only folks in their companies but across a wider swath of companies and ecosystems very easily, from just normal social media, but also more employee related systems like Glassdoor and others, right? So there is all this informal interaction across companies, within companies, across the world in some ways going on today, which didn't exist before, right? So, in this context of complexity, you layer the fact that business and in general, sort of, and from a geopolitical standpoint, business in general is getting more complex as well, right? I mean, I'm in the tech industry, right? Technology is changing every day. I mean, it's changing faster and faster than we can deal with. So, if you layer in sort of the lack of informality, informal interaction in the workplace with the more informal interaction which is happening in sort of the social channels, with the fact that things are changing so quickly from a technology and a business perspective, how do you then make sure that you're engaging all your employees in the proper manner, and more importantly, trying to help them develop in a manner that they want to be treated, right? I think gone are the days where you could have a broad-based metric of, hey, you want to be a manager, you have to do A, B, and C. You want to be a director, you want to do X, Y, and Z, right? Almost everybody needs to have an individual plan these days to be able to figure out in this changing environment that you are indeed doing what makes sense for both the individual and the company, right? And that's not an easy challenge. I mean, we've tried several different ways of doing it. Whether it's changing a performance appraisal method, or skip level interviews, mentorships, etc., etc. I mean, there's everything that we could try. We've done, right, and that sort of leads to a way of thinking. Which is, there must be a different way of solving this problem, right? And that's what we are exploring. I mean, that's quite frankly the whole concept in my mind around the talent marketplace, right? Every business is in the market, and they're in the market to compete with their competitors with ideas, but hopefully they have better ideas than the competitors to win in the marketplace.
Yeah.
They're in the market to compete for customers, and the most important one, we are in the market to compete for talent, right? So that's sort of the three basic premises of a successful business, and how do you deal with talent? Sort of the critical part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
great, Sonal. So I think we have heard some coming from the HR tech side of it, trying to solve this problem for different organizations. Sonal, we've heard something similar from our customers and prospects that we interact with. So let me ask you a quick question. If there were a solution around which helped you capture the informal aspects and give a formal picture to the management of aspirations of the employees, give a visibility on the pulse of the organization, the informal interaction, and the mood of the organization. And if all of this were to be enabled by a platform rather than regularly having to seek feedback or a structured feedback, do you think that will help the management capture the overall pulse, mood, or aspirations of the employees?
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer is absolutely yes, right? And not to bore everybody with details here, but about almost 30 years ago, I mean, I can tell you how old I am. I was running a global organization at that point, and we had some of the similar issues as we were going into the, back then it was called the internet era, right? I mean, people were getting connected, things were, changing. And we created a homegrown system to try to capture some of the things that you mentioned, with using Lotus Notes for all the weird,
Okay.
right? Um, and over time, it uh, it, it sort of got a life of its own, and I think it was very successful. When this was based on 30-year-old technology, but it was very successful. So if there is a way we can do this better, more efficiently, faster, cheaper, and more pervasively in today's environment, I think that would make a big difference. I mean, and part of the reason I'm here, right? Part of the reason I'm here is because we are experimenting with those things, right? We are trying to figure out, on the concept is perfect, right? Use today's technology, use AI, machine learning, use social apps, things of that nature, which can connect to our all the employees together, employees to managers together, and their colleagues as well, and try to extract meaningful insights from those interactions, and that and create initiatives based on that, right? So yeah, short. I'm giving you a long answer to your short question, but yes, I think that would be very helpful.
Vijay, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Sunil. That's a great insight.
Yeah, and I agree. And coming on to our next question, Vijay, is actually pivoting right from what Sunil sort of explained, the complexities out there in the market today with regards to creating that engagement. How do you think talent marketplace is a solution which helps companies address that criticality?
Oh, so from a solution perspective, see, as I said earlier, the organization should first be competing for its own talent. Rather than employees going and putting up their profile on external platforms, shouldn't there be a platform which excites employees to first put a similar profile on the internal systems of the organization? Should that platform enable connectivity? Should that platform enable visibility? Visibility first for the employee to project himself or herself, visibility for the employee to project their skills, to project their aspirations, uh, providing connectivity to different, let's say, the different works or different gigs that are available in the organization, different roles that could be available in the organization. Now, I know we tried in today's day, people try it through different, let's say, HRMS platforms. HM that serves a purpose, but as Sunil mentioned earlier, we could take it to next level to say this rich profile of the employee, which is otherwise present on a social media platform, if it were to be available on the HR Tech platform internal system, and that matches with the roles available within the organization. So what it enables very quickly, it provides visibility for the employee within the organization. It matches their skill with the roles available in the organization, roles available not only within the location, roles available across locations. So you are very quickly matching the talent requirement of the organization with the talent available within the organization. And mind you, talent available within the organization is not just the day role that an employee does. Talent available within the organization is what the employee possesses at a talent, what they have done in the past, what they can do for future in the organization, the aspirations that they are stating. Now, if you put all these different parameters on, let's say, one non-AI based cumbersome system, it's tough to match, and again, people have to do it. You shouldn't be relying on people to do it. The AI and ML system behind matches the skills, matches the aspirations, matches the roles available, and quickly throws the best optimal option to the employees as well as to the organization. And top of it, if you can overlay a good, robust display board for the management, where the crux of it or the gist of it displays in terms of enabling a skill path, so it becomes one comprehensive system, and that is what adds value. What we've seen is that once such a system is deployed, we have seen up to 10% benefit in employee related costs, roughly 7% in productivity, and roughly 3 to 4% improvement in retention. And I think in today's date, anybody's a platform standing up and saying we enable 3 to 4% retention improvement, a lot of organizations would jump at it. So that's what the HR Tech platform enables.
That's great,
That is
Vijay, for
okay.
you to for you to summarizing the talent marketplace benefits in such concise manner, and especially linking it to productivity change and retention change that you've seen, which is, I think, a lot of times the necessary metrics that HR leaders really need to look at. So,
Good.
just moving ahead, from picking up the conversation as we just sort of mentioned about how talent marketplace does this thing of helping employee aspiration skills get matched to the kind of jobs that are required within the company. You as a business leader, what importance do you see this specific aspect of a talent marketplace play when you are going out there, when you are looking for talent? And as you said, skills demand, especially within the tech sector, is rapidly evolving. So how do you see this attribute of a talent marketplace helping you solve your talent demand issues?
Yeah, Drew. Let me ask it. So answer the question with a question, right? Uh, the the focus for us, as a company and for many of my colleagues in the business world is growth, right? I mean, any CEO, if we can't figure out a growth strategy, probably won't be in the job for a long time, right? So the question we keep asking ourselves is, what are the sort of the key ingredients of growth? And I challenge us to think through it, and the audience as well. And the simple answer is talent, right? Without the right talent, there's irrespective of what kind of infrastructure you have as a company, and what kind of capitalization you have, you're not likely to succeed, right? Every successful company has done a phenomenal job of the whole aspect of attracting, retaining, promoting talent, right? One of the most successful companies in the world, Amazon or Microsoft, or you pick any one of those, you'll see that they have folks who have been there for a very long period of time. Almost all of them, started when it was a small startup and there were no common systems in place. But informally, they were able to figure out the challenges, right? The the trick in today's world is, how do we do that quickly? I mean, if it takes you 20 years, 30 years to create a sort of ad hoc talent market yourself, you're going to be history in today's fast-moving world, right? So if there are systems in place that can be put together to accelerate that, then you're better off, right? I mean, just to give you a quick stat, right? We get a we look at seriously look at 20,000, or let's say 10,000 profiles to hire 100 people. So I mean, that's the hit rate, right? So if I need to hire 1,000 people, you know how much I have, what amount of work is required, right? But on the other hand, for every 1,000 employees, we lose about 200 of them every year, right? And I can guarantee that they're not bad people, right? So the trick is, we have to, we have to be constantly on this treadmill of hiring and hiring and hiring, while we're not doing a good enough job of nurturing our own talent and trying to figure out how to be more effective around, around internally amongst ourselves. And I think that one of the points that Vijay made earlier really resonates with me, right? how do you create internal competition for talent? I may not be using the same phrase he used, but that's in a word, every company when it gets to a certain size, you have these silos of talent, which are not visible across the organization, right? And some companies just culturally do a better job. Some of the old professional services companies and the big four used to do a pretty good job at that, but most companies don't, right? And the reality is, what happens is the individual gets frustrated and doesn't have access to opportunities in a broader sense and leaves, right? And then you're back on the treadmill trying to hire more people and do what you need to do to keep the business growing. So I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question exactly, but the issue for us is, you have a baseline as any company, right? And the baseline needs to be maintained while you're trying to grow. And if you are not doing a good job with what you have, your inherent set of folks with the talent that they possess, and you can develop them, you're actually fighting just to keep your baseline, right? So a talent marketplace in an effective manner would make that much easier from a broader business sense as you go and try to attract and hire more folks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree with you, Sunil. To put it simply, in an ideal world, an organization should be hiring only when it is growing. It should not be hiring because people left. Talent, it's a given. When you hire a person, that person is already a fit, right? You
Right.
went through so much of checks and steps, and ideally the person should be delivering. And what we are saying is that a talent marketplace gives you all the tools to look at the employees' aspirations and their, the mood, the pulse from different aspects, so that the management is always aware, oh, this is what we need to focus on to be able to retain the talent within the organization. Yeah, thanks, Sunil. Yeah, Dhruv.
Yeah, Vijay, thank you. Thank you for summarizing that and adding your point to what Sunil sort of explained from a business perspective, the need of actually getting talent in through the door at the right time. So Vijay, I think we have looked at the the different attributes that a talent marketplace brings to the table when it comes to agility, when it comes to helping companies link aspirations to job requirements. But if we take a step back and we look at the approach that HR leaders use today when it comes to plugging some of these aspects, what do you think are some of the critical strategies that HR leaders should look at or be aware of to ensure that a talent marketplace solution in their company is successful?
Okay, interesting question. I also noticed that there's a question from the audience which says that, can a talent marketplace help me create learning pathways for my employees, or essentially how to address uh, skill gap, how to skill. So let me try and club these two questions and see, I can answer from different strategies. To answer the strategy aspect of it, first let us look at what broadly HR would want to enable. And while doing so, I may introduce three, four key terms that we have been focusing on, or Workware has been focusing on, learning from our different clients. And our clients are obviously, majority of it is the CHROs of fast growing organizations. So first of all, what is it? The first aspect that we've discussed till now, broadly, we are looking at talent management. I would like to give it a term. Let's look at the term being open talent management. Why do I say open? Because essentially, the employees, in terms of talent management, mind you, they are exposed to uh, the talent requirement in the outside world as well. Can we create a similar platform here within the organization? So the talent management should be fairly open. Can it be enabled by AI engine behind to map the talent with aspirations, with the roles, the aspects that I mentioned earlier? So the first strategy that HR has to look at is open talent management, AI based. So the term being AI open talent management. Second, are the employees collaborating and engaging enough, or engaging not just on the day role, engaging within the organization? Do they have mentors and buddies within the organization, or is it just a line manager? Do they feel choked just interacting with the line manager? How much access do they have to the management beyond line manager? So broadly, I could say, is the collaboration and engagement open enough? Does the platform, can there be a tool which helps the HR manager to deliver open collaboration and engagement? Again, AI based. Because if there is an engine doing the matching behind to give optimal results, that turns out to be a best use of the platform. So broadly, I would call it AI open collaboration and engagement, or AIOCE. Tying it back to the question that was there from audience, skills development. How are we addressing the skill gap? The skill gap could be known from the management and the project requirement of a growing organization. But mind you, there's another interesting aspect of recognizing skill. Looking at the aspirations of employees, can that help management capture somewhere, oh, this is what everyone is aspiring to be, so probably there is something in the market that we may have been missing. So sometimes employees could be telling you, oh, this is where the market is headed, purely because of the skills that they're looking at. So let's again look at it as skill development, not just from project requirement. It's again an open skill development platform. Employees are saying this is what we need. Management is saying, oh, this is what you need to add. And then again, as you add a skill, does it reflect on your profile, the rich profile that the employee had created? So the third strategy being an open skill development platform, again AI based, or AIOSD. The fourth one, or the last one that I can think of here as a strategy, is in terms of career path. As Sunil was saying earlier, in terms of career path, it's no longer, oh, I go from post one to post two, post three, or a vertical growth. It's really more about horizontal growth, the lateral growth. Employees are wanting to be just not just a sales manager or general manager. At times, employees have been known to create designations for themselves and saying, "Oh, this is what we want to be." Want to be. Can the organization enable that while fitting in the overall objectives or the goals of the organization? Can organization enable this open career path? The career path is fairly open. So again, tied back to the profile, the results, a skill added. So again, AI based. So the four strategies I would say are important is open talent management, AI based, AIOTM, open collaboration and engagement, or AIOCE, open skills development, AIOSD, and open career path, or AIOCP. So these four strategies, if you are able to enable and deliver for the organization, I guess it helps a lot in terms of retaining the employee because they feel useful. Does that help answer?
Yeah, Vijay, I think it summarizes the entire point really clearly, and especially those four acronyms that you sort of used. They helped conceptualize the four different steps that I think HR leaders can look at when it comes to ensuring employees are engaged and they're able to meet their talent demands. So moving ahead, Sunil, I think there is one aspect of talent marketplace that we are yet to explore further, and that is the aspect of mentorship, which I think just by the virtue of of talent being able to work where their aspirations are and are able to connect across different functions, the aspect of mentorship becomes fairly easy. But as a business leader, is this an aspect of a talent marketplace which excites you and which you sort of look forward to exploring further?
Absolutely right. The Yeah, and I know we have a lot of HR people, folks in the audience, and they may not like what I have to say. But the sort of the old-fashioned way of looking at mentorship and sort of development, I think in some ways is passé. right? Assigning formal mentors. I mean, it has its role and purpose, but it doesn't work in today's environment, right? In most folks today are want to develop, want to expand their horizons, but they want to do it in the amorphous fashion that they do it in their personal life. The boundaries that we used to have between the professional life and personal life is not quite there anymore, right? So the mentorship and development and even training, for example, training and learning pathways. I think somebody asked that question. Cannot be linear anymore, right? We have to harness the power of the crowd, right? And the crowd in this case is everybody in the company, right? So if you have this many to many interaction, and if you have a way of creating individualized pathways for everybody to learn and develop, and quite frankly be more attractive to folks internally as well as externally, because at the end of the day, as a business leader, however much I want to make sure that uh, you know employees in my company stay with my company, I cannot force it, right? And the only way I can help them be better at what they do, and actually provide more value to us as a company if I help them develop, right? I'll give you an interesting statistics. If you look at our own firm, right, and if I look at our attrition rate, the the interesting correlation you can draw is folks who have been put on more exciting and interesting projects tend to stay longer. A very simple equation, right? Um,
Interesting.
it's because in today's marketplace, you can jump from company one to company two, and you'll get a competitive salary and maybe get a little bit of a bump. But what attracts people is, especially in our field, right? And then when you're looking at technology and related fields, what attracts people is their ability to develop and expand and grow their own skill set by doing interesting projects. So, how do you, I mean, going back to the question of talent marketplace, and how do you enable that fact that you can jump from one place to the other? Um, you have to do it in a systemic manner, but not in a systematic manner. If you can get the subtle distinction, right? So the systematic manner in the old days was, okay, you have a manager or a mentor assigned. He'll try to find out what you can do next and what you need to develop. Now you have to make it a little bit more organic, right? The power of the system is to create those opportunities, is to create that visibility, and that movement, both the lateral and the up and down movement within a company, right? It cannot be rigid or formulaic. I mean, the worst thing we can do is create a formula on some of these things, right? Uh, so the way we address our folks has to change, and if systems and processes can help them enable the change in today's environment in terms of how people interact and learn, I think that would be very valuable to any business leader.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely, Sonal. And talent marketplace is essentially trying to say we use AI and ML engine behind to do such mapping of employee aspirations and roles available within the organization. So the systemic way that you talked about is enabled then by the platform. And I hope this description answers a question from the audience which had come. How is a talent marketplace different from HRMS? I think a simple, light-hearted answer could be HRMS is something which HR till now gave to the employees, whereas a talent marketplace is something which employees would like HR to have to be able to address their aspirations. HRMS would say, "Oh, please put your profile, put your role, match it to payroll." A talent marketplace would say, "What is it, Mr. Employee, Miss Employee, you have? what value do you bring to the organization, project yourself, the organization projects its roles. If there is a match, find a way to collaborate and engage with the system and information that, yeah, HR manager is aware, the line manager is aware, but the employee is contributing according to their fit to the roles available within the organization. Importantly, happening in a systemic way, that Sunil said. So I hope that helps answer that question as well.
Yeah, it does, Vijay. Thank you. Thank you, both Sunil and Vijay, for sort of exploring the mentorship aspect also in a much more wider lens and not just narrowing it down to what has always been done, or not just following a formulaic approach as Sunil sort of
Yeah.
summarized it.
Mhm.
So thank
Interesting thing, Drew, is we think of mentors as seniors to us, right? Somebody who can teach us about something. The reality in today's world, that's not true, right? My daughter teaches me how to use Instagram, and she's my mentor in that perspective, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
if a system enables that cross fertilization, at every level, that's sort of harnessing the power of the crowd, if you will.
Yeah,
That's
right,
that's
right.
So, moving ahead to our last question, panelists, I think you've explored talent marketplace across different perspectives and across different aspects of the talent management cycle. I would like you to now put on your lenses of looking far ahead into the future and try to suggest one talent management practice which HR leaders should really start doing moving ahead from 2022, July 2022. We can first, Sunil, you can go first and then we can go on to Vijay.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question, Dhruv. I mean, because there's so many things that we need to do, right? But I'd say a couple of things, right? One is we need to, from an HR perspective, right? We need to start looking at folks as individuals, not as groups, numbers, titles, right? Um, and and I know it gets harder as you scale, right? You have thousands and thousands of employees across different countries. You have to have a lot of rules and policies which go along with it. But in some ways, that can stifle creativity and innovation. So from the perspective of developing talent, start thinking of everybody as individuals. From the perspective of engagement, engagement is bunch of folks coming together to solve a common problem, right? In some ways, and an engagement is measured by how many of them do it without being told, right? So they recognize the problem, they come together, they do it, and that's sort of the culture that you have built, that we need to build, right? So those are some of the things I would start saying. Do individualized plans, enable them with systems and processes which are not top-down directed in some ways. They are organic, amorphous. You know, nobody tells us to go get on WhatsApp every morning, but we all do, right? That's it's a bad analogy, but I'll use it anyway. If you have a system which is that sort of fulfills a need within you in a professional company environment, that's what you need to do. What you need to we need to stop doing is stop the very rigid method that we've had in the old days, right? Start, grading performance, things of that nature. I mean, those are useful but not completely sufficient tools in today's world.
Sure. Thank you, Sunil. Vijay, what would you want to add?
Okay, so I may not have anything new to say here. Very quickly, I could repeat the four strategies what you said earlier, because those are the four things that need to start happening immediately. Uh, that is open talent management, open up collaboration and engagement, open up a skills development, offer an open career path to employee, and let a system do it for you. Let the technology available at the AI or ML engines behind. HR can then be enabler, and the back end work of tying various things can be done by the platform. And while saying it, I would also like to address a question that has come up, which says, what advantages does it bring to CEO of an organization? Oh, very, very simple. It's a 7 to 8% improvement in productivity. That should make a difference to the CEO. 3 to 4% improvement in employee retention, because they get to do things that they desire to do, they want to do, while staying with the overall framework of the organization. So these two are straight benefits which add to more than 10% improvement on the overall employee related costs and overall productivity. That's a huge benefit to any CEO. So that's really it in summary.
Yeah, and I think Vijay, just if I can add to the last point,
Mhm.
there's CEOs look not only for tangible benefits, because and that's the
Mhm.
job of the CFO to look for numbers, but
Yeah.
CEOs also look for broader implication, building of culture, people getting together, helping each other, figuring out how to expand their horizons collectively, having a system which you know promotes employees' engagement internally, even if it can't be measured, right? So
Yeah.
not everything in life can be measured. Culture is not one of them, which can be easily measured, but the end results are pretty measurable. So the system can help initiate those kinds of dialogue internally. I think that really, to me, that's the home run.
Yeah, I perfectly, totally agree, Sunil. Sort of enable cultural enrichment,
Right.
and the talent marketplace system should enable that as well.
Right.
By the way, that would be another differentiator versus HRMS. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
That's actually helpful, our panelists, and I would really want to thank our panelists for taking up audience questions as we went ahead with the discussion. And thank you, our audience, for sending us your queries and participate, being an active participant to this discussion. And with this, I would like to bring this discussion to a close. I would really like to thank Sunil, who joins us from the US, and Vijay for taking time out and being a part of this conversation. We would like to thank our partner, Workware.
and Dhruv, by the way, it's like, if you have time, you want to take few couple, if there are any other audience questions, considering
Uh,
we have 5 to 7 minutes on our hands.
sure, Vijay. Let me just
Yeah,
take a
maybe
look.
we should give one more chance if we have some time on our hands.
Definitely, and I think there is one question around exactly as how we sort of talked about future challenges. So maybe
Mhm.
we can keep this short, and we can keep a one sentence answer of a talent marketplace addressing future engagement challenges. How would you go about using a talent marketplace to address future engagement challenges? Vijay, we can start with you, and then we can go to Sunil. Just a one quick response to that.
Oh, okay. So my quick response is that the system should be such, or the technology should be such, that it is able to tie up different moving parts like aspiration, skill development, the career path, the collaboration, engagement, and throw up a tangible result for the HR, throw a tangible result for the C level management.
Sure. Sure, Vijay. Sunil, anything you would want to add to that?
No, I think we talked about most of the things. I mean, actually, I'd want to end maybe with a question or a plea to the audience, right? Uh, we are obviously as we are passionate about the subject, as you can see, right?
Yeah.
People development is key. It's the lifeblood of any organization. I'd like the audience to go back and think how they can do things differently, both from a process and a systems perspective. There are a lot of in Vijay and the systems that his firm has and others. There's a lot of systems which can help you get to the point where we want to go to, right? I'm sure many of them folks have very sophisticated systems, but you flip the HR mindset from a compliance mindset to a growth mindset, and then you'll see the difference it makes. Right? So I'd like to
Right.
leave that as a as a follow-up for the audience to do.
That's a great summary, Sunil. Thanks. And I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, and I think that leaves our audience with a very valuable aspect that technologies are there, but to sort of actually leverage a talent marketplace, you also have to make that mindset shift of moving ahead from a compliance based approach to actually looking at a growth based approach of addressing talent needs. So, I really want to thank you, Sunil and Vijay, for being our panelists today. I would also like to thank our partner Workware, who have helped us curate this entire conversation and helped us explore the different facets of talent marketplace and bring our audience an a lively and insightful discussion. Please share your feedback with us on the link shared in the chat window, as your feedback is always important to us. Do stay tuned for your inbox for further details on our next session, and I hope all of you have a great day ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Vijay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dhruv.
Bye.